injuries.
Sam Mellinger, how the heck are you? It's good to see you, brother. Good to see you. And Sam McDowell. Sorry, well, he's last week the energy wasn't good. He brought some good mojo, good energy today. So a couple things real quick. Marcus Kemp has been placed on the COVID reserve list this morning, and Lucas Niang will not work. Everybody else will practice. All right. Thanks, Sam Mellinger. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and you're welcome.
That was too.
How's everybody doing? Good to see you. Some of us are all dressed up today.
Driving a limo today.
I'm driving a limo. Good to see everybody. Listen, I'm just going to open it up. We're knee deep into Dallas. This is going to be a heck of a challenge. I think you guys are well aware of how good this offense is and all the weapons. So we got our work cut out for us, but we'll get out there again today and see if we can't get going.
Steve, when you make a defensive turnaround like you guys appear to have made in recent weeks, I know there's not just one thing that leads to it. Are there some factors you can point to as at least contributing to it?
Yeah, first thing I'd say is I try not to go down the turnaround road. The only reason I said it is because I don't want to turn it the other way. I'm with you. I'm with you. Listen, it feels better in the continuity realm. I'm trying to go back to where we struggled a little bit, and I know that in that period Travarius Ward was out, and then I remember Chris has been he dealt with the wrist for a long time. Melvin Ingram coming here, I think, has been a huge plus for us. Frank was banged up. I'm not trying to blame it on injuries, but it always feels better or seems to come together when you can have some consecutive weeks of the same guys. Now, do we put a couple of wrinkles in there every week? Yeah, so it's not doing the same thing all the time, but the gist of what we do, the 70, 75%, and when you can get a volume of reps underneath your belt with the same guys talking to the same guy, you know what I'm saying? That, to me, that would be the biggest thing, in my opinion.
It seems like that, the last couple of seasons, at cornerback, there's always been a few options that you try out, and eventually Rashad Fenton always seems to rise back at the top again.
Yeah.
What is it about him, that kind of made him that kind of guy?
Well, listen, he loves to play, and he's a competitor, and he kind of fits what we do in that he's a press corner, and he can get up there. He's got, he's bigger than you think he is. The other day I told him, I said, "Did you get taller?" I thought he looked like he grew to me. I mean, sometimes when they come in and they're young and they're rookies, they look young to me, obviously. Now I think he's a grown man, and I think he's playing that way too. I can't point to any one thing. The one thing I would say about Rashard is we've tried to get him a lot more reps outside. If you remember, he's played a lot of nickel. Like, he has started as the nickel. He's been the backup to LJ all year long. So he gets a lot of reps in there at the nickel. And then we finally been able to get him reps, kind of going back to the point I made with him outside. And I think that's showing in this play.
You mentioned the Cowboys in your opening statement. What makes them a dynamic offense from your point of view compared to some of the other offenses you've faced this year?
Well, it begins inside with that offensive line. I think that's a solid offensive line. And they've obviously that's been a focus down there for a long time. Then it's the quarterback. Then it's all the skill on the outside. Then you go back to the runner. They've got a complete repertoire of weapons. I mean, I know they get a couple of guys back that were injured, but when you can roll two running backs through like that, and they, I wouldn't say that they always commit to the run, but that run threat is always there. And if you don't stop that run, they just easily just mow you over. And then the quarterback comes in. It's not just a good quarterback; it's a good athletic quarterback. I think he's a smart quarterback. I've gone against him a lot of times. He can make you look bad because he can do all the things that you need to do as a quarterback to just be successful. I'm trying to find a weakness, to be quite honest with you. I think that more than anything makes him really good.
You typically rely on veterans. You typically lean on veterans. How much of a pleasant surprise has Nick Bolton been, and how much does he remind you of someone like that, despite only having these 10 games?
Yeah, I'm trying to go back on my Rolodex of memories of who it might remind me of. Listen, Nick's been impressive in a lot of ways, with the way he plays and certainly the intelligence part of it. We've asked him to do a lot of different things, and that's hard for a veteran linebacker to do. And yet he doesn't blink. Matt gets in there, the things you don't see are the, visual acts of commitment that our guys have, because of some guys being in special teams, that linebacker crew, Ben and even Dan, are in there with Matt House early in the morning, 7:00 before the special teams meeting is at 8:15, but they're in there working at 7:00. That's showing up, getting back to Nick. Been very impressive. Yeah.
You talked about defending the scheme several times over the last few weeks. Is that any different whenever you have a team like Dallas? You just kind of went through all the talent they have, or is that still kind of fundamentally true?
Well, you got to begin there, I think, and then then the next step is who on that side do you have to take away? We call them the game wreckers. Who they have a lot of them over there. You can't take them all away, but it would be scheme, and then it would be who do you got to take away to. Whoever they rely on, but you look at them. They can hand the ball off and run it effectively. You all see that. They got all kinds of weapons that they can throw it downfield, and the quarterback can make it go. I think he's really good. I've always felt that way.
I mean, the last couple of weeks with Devontae Adams and then Darren Waller, you guys have done a pretty good job of taking away that top pass catching option. Are you happy with how that's gone?
Yeah. If you go back to those 2 games, certainly I give a lot of credit to our guys and the coaches that got them ready to do that. This team's got more than just 1 or 2. I mean, I think all 3 wideouts plus the running back and the quarterback can make you look bad too.
Coach, you mentioned tackling. He seems very sure-handed out there.
I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Sneed.
Yes.
His ability to make open field tackles.
Yeah.
How surprised are you that he's that sure-handed, or is this something that you identified when you drafted him?
It doesn't surprise me. Not the tape that I remember watching of him in college. I thought he did everything really well. College tape. He played safety, played corner, he tackled, he blitzed, he was physical. I mean, I really did. I was hopeful when we got him that he would be like he is right now. So I'm glad that worked out.
When you played Chris Jones a lot at defensive end, was that more about you guys or more about what you saw from the Raiders?
A little bit of both. I think we're going to try to have him in both spots. However it works out, from the standpoint of how the game's going, where we feel we need him. We'll keep changing.
You mentioned the guys being healthy. From a scheme standpoint, does that open up what you want to do as far as?
Yeah, I think so, because the guys that we're talking about that were kind of nicked up were the guys that have been around for a little bit and new things. I think it makes it more comfortable to open it up a little bit. Yeah. I think that's true.
Fenton quickly. Noticed that his snap count was up.
I missed the name. I'm sorry.
Rashad Fenton.
Yeah.
A quick thing on him. Noticed the snap count was up past Ward. Was that an injury thing, or is that a?
Well, in this past game, yeah, Travarius wasn't feeling well. I think he had to go into the locker room at one point. Yeah, he wouldn't. No. That was more of how he was feeling.
You have one of the more varied blitz looks among defensive coordinators, Steve. I just wonder how you go about creating certain blitz looks for a certain opponent and how that's sort of developed for you throughout your career.
You don't want me to give it all away. Just a little tidbit. I learned from Jim Johnson way back when I was with him for those 8 years in Philadelphia, and y'all know who I'm talking about and how good he was. And he always began with looking at protections. Kind of began the week there, and I do the same thing. Now, the one thing that's a little bit different now, in my opinion, from years back when I was with Jim, is the offenses have gotten so good at having varied protections. Back then, there was 1 or 2. Now there's a plethora of them. And so you're trying to find something that'll give you a heads up on you should do this when you think they're going to be in that protection. But I go back to Jim was very helpful that way. I learned a lot from him in that regard. So we're always trying to make that part of what we do right at the beginning of the week.
Coach, the magnifying glass has been on Daniel Sorensen throughout the past few weeks. Got an interception.
Did it come off at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, does that give him a sigh of relief at all?
I mean, you'd have to ask Dan. I can tell you this. I'm happy as heck for him and proud of him. I don't like to give up on people. Not especially a guy that has done the things that Dan has done for us in the past. Now, had he struggled? Yeah. I keep going back to the golfing analogy. golfers struggle sometimes, the really good ones, but I'm happy for him and I'm hoping it can be a building block. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Good. Yeah.
How y'all doing? All right. All right. Good afternoon. Hope all is well with your families. Hopefully everybody's remained safe. Feels good to be up here after another victory. And our guys are working hard, steady chopping. On to the next one. With that said, I'm all ears.
You get a little extra joy watching Darrell Williams go for 100 yards through the air, mossing somebody for a touchdown.
You know what? He showed off all 15 inches of that vertical, that vertical leap. But how about that? What a great play. Pat steps up in the pocket, not knowing that he was looking for Darrell. There were two guys wide open right to his right, and he throws it to Darrell, and Darrell goes up with all 15 inches and grabs it. That was a hell of a play. But those are the type of plays that our guys seem to make in practice all the time. And the thing that was unique about that is I thought our guys did a great job allowing their personalities to show. The guys had fun. They enjoyed the opportunity. They enjoyed the moment. And the best thing about it is that we remained patient and played the game one play at a time. That was the fun part.
Regarding Darrell Williams, he has some really physical runs, as you know, particularly early in the game. Does that do anything for you as an offense when you see those types of plays? And if so, how do you benefit?
Well, first of all, I thought he probably played his best game to date as a professional football player. And the thing that we've known about Darrell's a good football player. He's smart. He's instinctive. He's tough. He's just a jack of all trades. And, it's not surprising that when given these opportunities, that he's having the success that he's having. He's just a steady, consistent football player who understands that, hey, when that opportunity comes, I got to make the very most of it. But yes, it is uplifting to watch, not only as a coach, but it's also uplifting as a team, and that seems to pick up the juice when our guys are driving the football on the field.
You mentioned the fact that guys were letting their personality show. Which do you think came first, though? I mean, did you feel that before you see the success on the field?
Oh, yeah. And that's always been a part of it. Coach talks about that each and every week. Allow your personalities to show. We've strived to our guys. It's not about being perfect. We would love to go out and play a perfect game. All right. Stop listening and block out all the excess stuff that is being said about you and make sure that we're just focused on us. And the thing about it, I thought our guys over the past few weeks have just really honed in on just focusing on the details of what needs to be done. But on top of that, enjoying what we do and not trying to be perfect at what we're doing.
More so than the previous month or so?
Well, I'll say this. The guys have always strived to go out there and be themselves. So I don't think necessarily it's more that they're more focused on it. I just think that it was shown, on public display.
What did you see in your film review that led Patrick to being much more comfortable in this past game?
You know what? Each and every week, I go into every game feeling confident on how Patrick is doing and how he's feeling. So it wasn't anything different that led me to believe that he would have the game that he had. Not trying to sound arrogant, we expect those type of performances from him a lot. But as you know, sometimes you get the bear and sometimes the bear gets you. So it was fortunate enough that he had a great game. I thought the O-line did a heck of a job of keeping the pocket clean for him. And you had guys that made some plays on the perimeter. So it was good to see. It was fun to watch. And like I said, I thought our guys did a great job of allowing their personalities to be on full display.
Anybody else?
You got a cornerback over there, Trayvon Diggs, with the Cowboys. As an offensive coordinator, what do you need to be aware of when he's on the field?
When you find number 7. And the thing about the kid's playing great. He's doing a hell of a job. He's found a way to get his hands on the football. And you have fun watching him play because he's such a dynamic football player. And he's had an opportunity to do some things that have, you go, oh, man, okay, well, we got to make sure that we're paying close attention. But I will say this, that kid also has to do a great job of preparing for all the guys that we're going to put out on his side, and I know he'll probably end up matching up with Tyreek. So I know that's a challenge itself for him, and also just like it's a challenge for Tyreek. So I'm looking forward to our guys going out there and enjoying the moment, making the very most of it, but also understanding we're going to respect this kid because obviously he's done some great things, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right things when put in those situations.
Clyde returns. Oh, sorry. If Clyde returns this week on Sunday and expect him to play, how does that change Daryl's touches, or do you see that influencing anything on the field?
Well, first of all, it's good to have Clyde back out on the field, and we'll let all the doctors decide exactly what's going to take place on Sunday. So at this point in time, I don't have that answer for you, but obviously he looks great out there. He's doing a great job. We just want to make sure that that he's doing it the right way, but also making sure that he's healthy enough to play. And like I said, we'll let those people that make those decisions make those decisions.
Josh Gordon's been getting more and more snaps. Most work on Sunday night. Not getting translating into catches, but what's he doing that's not showing up in the box score that's helping you guys?
You know what? He's doing a great job of blocking on the perimeter. First of all, the kid's having a lot of fun. That is a very, very unique room, and those guys got some personalities. They're all great personalities, and they're all having fun. So it's been fun to watch him just becoming one of the guys. Now, obviously, you would love for him for the ball to come his way, and unfortunately, it hasn't. But that hasn't basically deteriorated anything that he's accomplished so far. And the thing that he is doing, he has a better understanding of what we're doing. The kid works his tail off. At some point in time, he's going to end up making a dynamic play for us. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't happen over the past few weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Y'all take care. Thank you.
Go ahead, fire away. I asked you last time we saw you, at your age and the Dixon bumps and everything like that starting to accumulate. How valuable, is having a late bye this year for you, and how have you been feeling the last few weeks?
I mean, I'm working through all the I don't know, discomfort, the soreness throughout the season, just like everyone else. I wouldn't think that mine is more than anybody's or anything like that. I think that everybody at this point in the year needs to really lock in on their recovery and their week to week, progression in terms of how they're feeling athletically out there on the field. And I've just been fortunate that we got great trainers here, and it's just been a work in progress.
Travis, how fair is it to say that this year has been the most physical opposing defenses have really tried to get you in the first 5 yards here?
I don't think I'm pretty sure it's been like this since 2015, 16, when I first started to get on this. Probably more so relevant now just because I'm a more vital part of the offense, and you're seeing the camera on me a little bit more throughout. And on top of that, the third down stuff, the calls have been for me in some instances, and I haven't been able to get open for Pat. And you got to just try and keep figuring things out, keep working, have an idea for certain guys that you're going up against, and that's where we're at right now.
Travis, you talked after the game about having your swagger back. Pat talked about that after the game. Does this team have to play with that kind of edge to be what it can be, if that makes any sense?
I think it was more so just having fun with the win than anything. I think when we do go out there and play with that type of energy, that type of mentality and just that confidence in everybody, not just in yourself, but in everybody on every single play, no matter what's called. I think that's what we were really playing with.
When could you tell it was going to be that kind of night? You remember?
It just felt like that the entire practice week, to be honest. Everybody's finally starting to really come around, at least in terms of, the work ethic and how everybody's dialed in practice and things like that. I feel like we caught a groove last week, and we're trying to just emulate that this week.
41 points against the Raiders. 41 points against the Raiders, given how the past month has gone. How gratifying was that for you guys to have that kind of output?
It felt good. It was just, like I said, it was a fun night for us on all three phases of the game, and we're just trying to feed off of that.
Can you walk us through? Pete was asking about being physical at the line of scrimmage. It looked like the Giants and the Packers were kind of exaggerating that a little bit.
Can you walk us through the process of how you counter that? Is it some, is there motion? Like, how do you
I think last week Coach Reed did a great job. Well, really the entire offensive staff that's coming up with the game plan gave me an opportunity to not just be in one spot, be in multiple spots on the field. Motions help me get off the ball a little easier. It doesn't allow a guy to just sit on top of me. And then, just flat out having an answer for when I do get pressed, being violent and just, trying to work my techniques and my fundamentals.
A couple more guys. Related to that, it seemed like there was even more creativity last week. I mean, one play you're lined up as a fullback on one of the catches. How much do you sort of embrace having to learn sort of different spots on the field and different releases because of that?
I mean, I thanked them not too long ago about, giving me that option to move around and always putting the defense in a reactionary position, not letting them kind of dictate what's going on or them take away a certain angle or a certain route. And just giving me an opportunity to work my craft. I think it's been so vital to my career, and I'm just fortunate that I'm here letting Coach Reed dial some things up for me.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
Have a good one, guys.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Fire away. What do you got?
Any, Trey Smith and Creed, are they maybe beyond what you might expect from rookies at this point of their careers?
Yes, in some respects, you could say that. I mean, I'm definitely pleased with how these young men are working and then showing improvement, growing, as a unit or new unit at the beginning of the year. And so every week you see us, grabbing onto one more detail, but particularly those young guys. And when you talk about Creed in there at the center position, kind of quarterbacking the O-line, he's been outstanding. I mean, operating at a veteran level from the get-go. And then Trey has done, a great job of being a physical presence in there, getting after guys physically and then showing some improvement as a pass protector and a run blocker.
When you open camp, you open with those guys first snap as your starters. What did you see from them before they'd even played it down for you that indicated that they could turn into this?
Right. Well, certainly our scouting department's work in the draft on both these guys, and then I had a chance to study them as well. So we knew we were getting good football players. And then, right from the get-go, from the OTA's work, Creed kind of showed that he could handle, like there was nothing he couldn't handle in there. So we said, look, let's get this ball rolling right there at the center spot. And then with Trey, we had Kyle in there, we had some other guys in there, and then there was a practice where he stepped in, and what jumps out at you is his physical dominance, his strength, his size, his aggressiveness. And so while there's a learning curve going on there, he brings something, an A+ talent to the table, something special going on there. So definitely worth working with.
Both those guys played a lot, started a lot of games at high college level. Could you tell that when you're working with them when they came in, that these were guys that maybe had more experience than some of the guys you see walking through the door?
I would say especially, yes, in Creed's case. Trey is a guy who played on Saturday against all that great competition, but hadn't really practiced a whole lot. And so still, is still developing some of these fundamental things that we're working on. We all are.
Coach, you had Mitch Moore start as a rookie center. Is it fair to say it's easier to start as a rookie in the interior than it might be putting someone out on an island in the tackle position?
It may be. I'm not sure about that. I think tackles are on display for everyone to easily see any little error. They're out there in space, much like a cover corner. And so some things can, get hidden to the naked eye on the interior. That said, that's tough work in there on those interior spots. Both mentally, it's challenging, more going on, little details, little angles, and then physically, man, that's pretty noisy in there.
Speaking of the tackle position, how far have you seen Orlando come to this point since the beginning of the season?
Yeah, he's come a long way. I'm really been pleased with how he's worked and progressed every day, every week. He's a football guy. He loves football. He wants to be great. So you can work with that. And there's an element of learning the offense, and there's so many little details, angles, this, that, the other, communication. It takes time to pick these things up, and it's not just Orlando, but across the board, that's what's happening with these guys. They're grabbing onto some of these things.
You mentioned Creed operating at a veteran level, and given your experience, you've been doing this a long time as an offensive line coach. How rare is that in your experience to find that quickly in a rookie?
It has seemed awfully rare to me, yeah. But you start with good people who love football, and so there's going to be different, learning curves that go on there. We've had some good people and good football players that love football here. I've had a privilege to coach a few of them, and Creed is among the best of that group right there.
On the right side,
Last two.
on the right side has been the only spot. You've actually had some turnover this year where you have Lucas and then Rivers, and then obviously now Wiley's gotten these last game and a half or whatever. Can you speak a little bit to kind of each of those three guys, what you saw from Niang, why you thought Rivers would be a good fit there, and then what Wiley's done since being kind of forced into action there?
Yeah, you bet. Starting with Lucas, another young guy, big physical presence and a good pass protector. So he's working, with some good fundamentals right from the get-go. And so he's been learning and working hard. He's another guy that wants to be an excellent football player. He got nicked up, or I'll tell you, at a point when we put Mike in there, the thing that Mike brings to the table is not only his versatility, but his veteran leadership, and just felt like it was the right time to infuse some of that energy that he brings. I mean, he's a physical, fun guy that loves to get after people. And can do the job at multiple positions. And so that was a good infusion of energy right there. And then Andrew, very similar to Mike in that way, a versatile guy who loves ball. And you can go ask him to do any number of jobs and do it at a high level.
Was that Wiley's best job that you've seen at right tackle? And what kind of you think led to that kind of performance Sunday night?
Yeah. Well, Andrew's got, some games under his belt now, so he's an experienced guy. And was it his best? I don't know. I was really proud of him. He had a great challenge in working against an old teammate, a very good rusher, and he went out there and battled. And then, hey, he won some, he lost some. But the thing I was most pleased about was, okay, he got me on that one, and he came right back and then put together a great snap against him. And that's one of the things I love about Andrew. And at a moment's notice, I could say, hey, go jump in there at left guard. He would do it and do a nice job.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Good. I'm gonna ask Spags this, but I'm just wanting your perspective. We saw Chris back at defensive end a lot against the Raiders. Was that more about something within your own defensive line or a matchup that you saw against the Raiders?
There's a number of factors there. I think that's something we're going to evaluate week to week. We did a little bit of him inside and outside in that game. I think each week there's some different things to consider, and there's never like one solid reason in terms of where he's going to go and how we're going to deploy that. I think you try to make the decision, okay, what do we need to do to win this game? How do we best utilize the personnel that we've got available to do that, right? And I'd say there's some different reasons week to week, whether it be run game, pass game, what that team does protection-wise.Maybe it's a matchup on one end or the other. So, that's kind of an ongoing process that changes.
Any impressions of, I'm sure you had impressions with Melvin Ingram, but had you worked with him at all beforehand? And just what's that been like these last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I didn't have any experience with him kind of personally. I've always admired him from a distance. I evaluated him in the draft process and have seen him, obviously in the division and on crossover tape over the years. Had a lot of respect for him from that perspective, but I hadn't been
spending any time with him in any capacity. It's been great. He's a true professional. He's done an extremely good job of coming in and learning the system and learning the scheme. He's handled a high volume of information at a pretty high level. Not that he hasn't made any mistakes, but I would say it's been pretty impressive the amount of information that he's been able to obtain, to digest, and then also go out and execute. So I've been impressed with his work ethic in that regard.
Having him now in the lineup, what is that? What capabilities do you have maybe that you didn't have before he came around? You know, maybe it gives you a little more freedom with Chris to do whatever you want to do. But other than that, are there other things maybe where he's had an impact?
I'd say we're still in the process of figuring that out. It's still new. You know, like I mentioned, we kind of, week one, we gave him, okay, here's a small package to learn and understand. Did a great job with that. The second week, we kind of expanded that. Did a great job there. We're kind of still working through all of that. I think it definitely gives you depth. I think it gives you some options. It gives you some versatility. We're still kind of in the process. Okay, there's a certain number of things you think this guy can do well. That seems like something he's going to be good at. You don't know until you get him out there and you actually see him function in those roles. So we're still working through that, and I think we'll continue to grow as that goes forward. We'll see how it goes.
Jaron Reed looked like he had a big game the other night, and Derek Nottie seems like he's playing better than he was early in the season. I know he was kind of dinged early in the year. But anything else you can point to with those two guys, why maybe their games are coming around?
I think they've been working at it. I don't have one specific, here's the reason why answer. I do agree with your assessment there. I think both of those guys have week in and week out just continued to work, continued to get better, continued to refine what they're doing. In Nottie's case, he was dealing with some injury stuff. And I would say maybe even more not the injury, but he didn't have a lot of reps in training camp based on the injury stuff. So it took him a little bit of time to kind of knock the rust off and get playing from a skill standpoint where he would be. You need to practice, many guys do, most guys do, I should say. So I can't point to one thing. And honestly, to that situation, I would say I hope that's what all of us are doing. It's a long season. And over the course of 17, 18 weeks and whatever else you may earn through that course of time, hopefully you're getting better each week. And if you're not, then we need to adjust what we're doing. And I hope that continues, to be quite honest.
We got one more, Nate.
With I asked Steve about sort of the blitz packaging. I just wonder from an assistant coach sort of position, what's the best part about putting the blitz package together for a certain week? And then what have you sort of noticed and learned about how Steve goes about trying to attack a quarterback in the blitz?
Well, I think, you're not just up there throwing blitzes up against the wall and hoping that something hits. There's a rhyme and a reason. You're trying to attack protections. You're trying to attack personnel at times. You're trying to anticipate what the offensive adjustments to those packages may be. Are they going to bring people in and block it up? Are they going to empty you out? Are they going to try to get you into bad matchups somewhere? So there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. You get into, okay, are we going to have checks with it where there's some thinking involved, or are we just going to cut it loose and play? So that strategy, I think you enjoy as a coach. I enjoy that part of it anyway, week to week, and doesn't mean you always get it right, but hopefully there's a good plan in place. And if it doesn't work out the way you hope it does, then you adjust as you go through the course of the game. And maybe some weeks it's, we're not going to blitz as much, which is a good answer as well sometimes.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Ladies, gentlemen.
Go for Sam.
Sam, simple question, but who do you think's been your best cornerback this year and why?
Say that one more time.
Who do you think's been your best cornerback this season and why?
Well, I mean, it's a toss-up. I mean, we had some injuries early. Ward went down. Fenton was starting one game, then he went down. we had to bring Baker in for a couple of snaps. So it's just been a revolving door. So, that's what this league is all about, next man up. And, we try to give all these guys the same techniques and the same, things throughout the course of practice. Some guys get more practice than others, but, when your number's called, you got to be ready to go. That's what this league is about.
It seemed like Legarius had a little bit slower start to this year, and now he's starting to really come on. Have you sensed that, and maybe what led to him kind of coming on mid-year here?
A lot going on. Last year, we brought him in to play corner. Then all of a sudden, Breland came back, and then we saw that he was very good tackler, moved to nickel. So a lot of other learning. But, in his senior year, he did play a little bit of safety, and that was something that Coach Spags saw, that he was able to play from the inside. So still a learning curve for him. He played a lot in there last year for us, but yet and still, when you move from division to division, playing different guys, you see a lot of different things. So he still haven't had a lot of reps at that. So it's on the job learning for him. But his confidence has definitely skyrocketed a little bit. He's being where he's supposed to be, and he's doing it at a high level. So just watching him going out there and being physical at tackling, that was something that Coach Spag really noticed, from day one, and then have an opportunity to move him in there at the nickel position. But he's still learning.
What kind of mentality goes into a cornerback who is willing to stick his nose in there and make those kinds of tackles?
Hey man, this is a Warriors type game, and he's definitely one of those guys. So from day one, he's always been a physical corner for us. He's always displayed the mentality to go in there and tackle and not really think about his body. And that's what you really look for, a guy that's relentless, want to go in there, give up his body for his team, for his teammates. And that's what he does. He does it every single play. He does it every down. He thinks about some things, but that's just not one of them that he thinks about. He's just going to go and do it every time he has the opportunity to.
Is he a better tackler than you were when you were back in?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Some guys are cover guys, and I put myself in that category, and some guys are thumpers, and I add him and Pat Surtain to that list. But much better than I was.
You've been obviously there in the league, Sam. I just wonder from your standpoint, when you guys on the defensive side of the ball are blitzing, how that sort of changes the thought process, the assignments maybe as a cornerback, and how that may even relate to the guys on the field with you guys right now?
One of the things you have to understand and know, how teams are trying to attack you, down and distance, the game scenarios, situations, all of those things go into effect when you're out there. Should I press? Should I jam? Should I quick jam? Should I give a little ground? And Coach Reed does a very good job throughout the course of training camp, and even now in practice, giving us situational football as well as Coach Spags. So we try to put these guys in as many situations that we see that comes up, during the week or around the league, every single week, and try to give them these type of scenarios. But, you have to be the coach on the field. And that's why, when you look at EB as well as, Coach Spags, hey, we need you guys to be able to come over, tell us exactly what you're seeing, because we missed some things. But, once we're able to get to the sideline, make some adjustments, and, just give these guys little pointers and little tips. And those are the things that, I really try to, hammer out with our young guys, because a lot of them are still young. None of them have been in there on a continuous basis to be able to grab all the different things that people can and how they can attack you. And that's why I try to attack every single day with these guys.
Coach, you talked about Snead's success this season. He was really good against Green Bay, in particular against Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
How special is that for a second-year corner to find that much success against such an accomplished receiver? And what can that do for his confidence?
It can skyrocket it, and then it can go one way, it can go the other. But, for him to make that play after, the Tennessee game and, having some bad plays throughout the course of this season, it helps. And, we always say that, as a defensive back, they come in bunches, big plays, opportunities, and then the teams that you're playing with the way that they present their offense, you just got to be able to go out there and make that play and know that you've had it throughout the course of the week, throughout the course of training camp, and know when that play comes up, you have to go out there and be able to do it. And he shows and displays the capability to do it every single play. So it's just fun to be able to see him, watch him grow and see him process things, but yet and still when it comes time and it's in live bullets, he goes out there and he gets it done. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Joe, Tyreek was talking after the game in Vegas the other night. He's had to adjust his game like a lot of guys have. How much work have you had to do with him? Not necessarily the coaching part, but maybe the mental part of it. Hey, you can do these kinds of things. Not everything has to be a 9 route or a post or whatever. I mean, have you had to do some work with him in that regard?
Yeah, I think him and just the whole offense in general, just kind of the identity, what we're used to, that kind of what got us going in the past. It's just all an adjustment period. And for Tyreek, I mean, we know he's made so many plays going down the field, and he loves doing that. We still ask him to do that, but at times, like he was saying, the 12-yard ends or the back, facing the quarterback, back to the defense type of routes that there are open for him. That's what we need from him. So it hasn't necessarily been him specifically. I think it's just an illustration of the whole offense.
He sort of said that was a difficult transition for
Yeah.
him to make. I mean, have you seen that? Is that your assessment of it as well, that it was difficult for him to?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say he's always asking to run different routes and more types of routes and more variety. So at times I just remind him, you were asking for these routes back in the day when you were just running down the field. But it's more mentally just the role in the offense, how to get going, what we need from you. Teams are giving us completions short, catch, get what you can, line back up, do it again. And that's what we'll do down the field as opposed to just running past them.
Joe, what's a reasonable expectation for Josh Gordon based on what you've seen so far to expect from him for the rest of this year?
I wouldn't have a expectation in terms of like a box score stat line or anything. He's been
Just how often he can be on the field and what kind of production you can get.
he's continuing to grow in all facets of the offense. He works crazy hard, super smart. He's picked it up and continues to pick it up. His time will come in production. We're increasing the variety of both where he lines up and what he does. And he's, with that increased variety, he's succeeded at it. So the production in the box score will come.
For that position in particular, obviously coming in at this time would be difficult. It seems like no matter what, but for getting on the same page with the quarterback, and then also for a guy that just hasn't played in 2 years, can you kind of just speak to the difficulty of those two elements of what he's going through?
Yeah, there's just, and he's a veteran guy, so he knows it, but there's just so much kind of between the lines or that goes unsaid with a route that's drawn on paper or a depth that we have in the meeting room when we go out onto the field versus the way the defense is playing, the way a look presents itself, the timing of the rush or whatever it may be. There's all sorts of different variables that can just affect it. And he knows that. He's been in the league long enough to know it. How it pertains to this specific offense is just the whole learning curve. That takes a little bit of time, really, just out on the field. Usually that time comes in the offseason, training camp, as you go through practice. He's just working through that right now.
You might not have Marcus Kemp this week, obviously on the reserve COVID list. How does that affect your receiver group, especially on special teams?
Yeah, I mean, next man up. So we'll have people ready to go, and when their opportunity this week arises, they'll go make the most of it. But we'll definitely miss Kemp. Jack of all trades, like you said, in special teams, and also being able to just fill in at any point for anybody on the offensive side. That was really a big safety net kind of on the sidelines during the game. So next guy up, we'll have guys ready. They'll be excited for it. But like you said, definitely miss him.
How do you see McCole Hardman maybe transitioning and growing from what is an orchestrated touch guy to maybe a downfield asset for what would be his career and how he wants to grow?
Yeah. I mean, we're just trying to get McCole the ball as much as we can. When he has the ball in his hands, he's special to watch. And then that kind of just falls into sort of what we were talking to earlier, just the version of this offense with the defenses that we're seeing. How can we incorporate getting him the touches, everybody else as well, Tyreek, Kelce, D-Rob. I mean, the list goes on with Pringle. So we're just trying to find that balance. We want McCole utilizing his speed because he's got great speed. We want the ball in his hands. I mean, all the different facets of being an NFL receiver we want to utilize with him. It's just finding the right spot with everybody else and kind of like what we're seeing.
The offense was kind of struggling to go through a slump. Both Andy Reid and Eric talked about the mistakes, and drops were part of that. As a receiver coach, I mean, is that anything you can coach? Is that just a bad luck thing as we can go through? Or, I mean, how do you coach the drops when you see that?
Yeah, I think each one is different. You know, you can look at the situation. Was it a concentration issue? Was it, trying to make too much? Was it a defense? Was the defender make a good play, or was there traffic? Each one is specific, but we do address them. Obviously, no one wants to drop it, and no one's trying to. But if you can pinpoint kind of the root cause, and knowing that they're not all the same. Not every drop is caused the same. Each one, and then everybody else just learning from the previous drops or what's out there and what to look out for. That's kind of how you address it. And then we work on it. I mean, the guys work on it all the time, different receiving drills, catching drills. You can just never get enough of that.
Does it still surprise you when you have a guy like Tyreek who's so consistent catching the ball that when he has drops, does it surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, anytime any of the guys drop it, yeah, it does surprise me, especially. But Tyreek, I mean, he's made every catch in the book, ridiculous catches. And so sometimes you can take it for granted that it's just going to be a catch. So when it happens, definitely surprising. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.